Hello everyone and welcome back to another edition of Indie Book Review, where today I am reviewing Left in Good Spirits by Pleydon. A name that I am 90% certain I might be mispronouncing, but I can't think of any other way to pronounce it. So, hope I got it right. Probably didn't. I don't know. Anyway, I picked up this book actually not because the author asked me to, but because her and I follow each other on Instagram. And I got interested in picking up one of her books, and I did. And after I bought one of her books, I found out that she was reading my book, The Engine What Runs the World, so I'm like, okay, this book just got pushed right up the list. So I read the book, and this is what I thought of it. So you know when they say, write what you know? Well, it seems like this author took it to heart, because she, in her normal life, is a forensic psychologist. So she wrote about a forensic psychologist who works in a juvenile delinquent center. And damn, is it intense in times and very informative in terms of what goes on in this work, in this line of work. It's almost clinical in a sort of sense. It's kind of fascinating, really. Although the two, like the main character and the author both sharing the same profession, sometimes it gets to be a little difficult to know or even try to figure out where the character ends and the author begins and vice versa, especially in terms of the rants. Now, for all I know, those could be fairly common opinions. I'm not a part of that industry, so I have absolutely zero knowledge or experience or anything having to do with it. So I hold absolutely no opinion one way or the other as to whether or not Dr. Kenny Halpin is just kind of a cynic, or if it's, just common opinion as to the stuff that she's telling her student. But let's get into the actual story, shall we? So, Left in Good Spirits, or as I came to call it while reading it, what not to do when your supervisors really don't like you. So like I said, the book takes place in a juvenile detention facility, or whatever you call it. I think that's the common term for juvenile detention facility. Wow, I just can't say that word today. Moving on, it follows Dr. Kenny Halpin, who is a woman. She has been told on several occasions that her name is male. She comes at it with good humor. It's like, haha, yeah, like I haven't heard that one before, which I think is really cool. It's really neat. Anyway, it pretty much just follows her and just the sort of stuff that happens in this detention facility. Like, there's not really a set forward plot. There's not even really much of a plot progression. Like, the only thing that can come somewhat close to being a plot is the changes that the superintendent, Lana Clearwater, is putting forward. And Lana does not like Kenny at all. She will find any reason to criticize. If Kenny said the sky's blue, Lana would say it's red. It pretty much comes down to that. And it's really clear, like straight from the get-go, that Lana just does not like Kenny at all. And Dr. Mull, the head of psych, or the mental health unit, is, I don't know if he's just a spineless jackass or if he's just a backstabbing jackass. Maybe a mixture of the two. Wouldn't surprise me one way or the other. But anyway, the story not having much in the way of plot does kind of free things up to really get into just what goes on in Kenny's day-to-day life. There's a little side plot with Kenny's husband dying. Yeah, that's the subplot. Kenny's a bit of a workaholic, so she doesn't spend a lot of time at home. Like, the first chapter, goes into, her husband's in the hospital, he's not doing so well. And then it goes straight back to her at work, and she stays there for quite some time. And then there's little bits and pieces that will mention her husband being ill until he eventually, well, what happens with sickness, really, though. And That's actually kind of my one thing with Kenny is that when he finally dies, there's this whole like there's a big emptiness within her that, on one hand, yeah, like your husband just died. Uh, it's kind of hard for me to not feel sorry for that, but at the same time, it's like you spent all your time at work not with this guy. It's hard for me to really grasp that you're really tore up about it just because you just didn't put anything forward toward it. Like, even on his final night, like when her person said, like when her nurse person said, hey, this is probably going to be this guy's last night. You should probably get home and say your goodbyes. Like, he's sleeping and he's probably going to sleep through it, but you should probably say your goodbyes. She opted to stay at work a little bit longer because one of the kids had a bit of a crisis. She had been informed and assured that he was okay and that things would be okay until tomorrow, and she still chose to do that, making it much too late and so on and so forth. It's like, okay, like your priorities are pretty clear here. But that's really my only gripe with the character of Kenny. I mean, yeah, she's really dismissive in terms of this of her student that she gets assigned right off the hop that she didn't want to begin with. So I'm not surprised she's dismissive. She's helpful, but she's also a little dismissive. All that I'm pretty okay with. The story itself, like with the characters, to be perfectly honest, it didn't really drag me in as much, but that's more of a me thing. This is not really my typical style of story. It's not even really my typical style of book. And while books like this have enticed me in the past, it's hard to say just what about those books really gripped me. This one is really good, and I definitely enjoyed it and would recommend it, but it just didn't grab me. It didn't spark anything in me. I kind of read it just because I wanted to get through it. And while I enjoyed it, it wasn't something that I had to keep picking up, that I couldn't put down. It's just, okay, I have to go back to work now. I will put this down until I get a chance to read again. And like I said, that's not the book's fault. That's all me. This book is really good, and if you're the sort of person who would be into this sort of book, then you're really going to get into it. You're really going to find this fascinating, and you're going to find the whole forensic psychology aspect of it really neat. Hell, I found that part really neat. And while it doesn't go really in depth with it, you definitely get the feel that the author is in this profession. Hell, I kind of got that feeling before I even read the bio. So, the author knows what she's talking about. Let's just put it down to that. So all in all, despite not really gripping me and not giving me that spark that some books do, I would actually give this book an 8.5 out of 10. Like, it was really good. It was really enjoyable. And it's one that I would recommend to other people. It's not for everyone, but what book is? This book is definitely one that, if you're into this sort of thing, you're going to love it. If you're not, then you might be into it, you might not. But you're still going to enjoy reading it. I don't imagine many people are going to put this book down and go, well, I just wasn't into that, or this book is awful, because it's not. But anyway, that's all I got for you folks. If you like what I do and want to see more along the writing processes, because, you know, I am an author at the same time, check out my other channel in the link below, and yeah, have a good one, folks.